In Greece, a seismic crisis involving more than 24,000 earthquakes between the islands of Santorini and Amorgos is now in its 34th day. While these quakes haven't really caused any major damage, the largest of the many which struck, specifically in the lower magnitude 5 range, caused some minor cracks to form in structures and some small-scale rockslides and landslides to occur. Depending on the scientist you ask, the explanation for this unprecedentedly strong swarm is either a purely tectonic explanation, volcanic explanation, or a mixture of both, but if it were to be volcanic in nature, it would not signal that a new volcanic eruption would occur anytime soon. Thankfully, while the ongoing situation could change once again, I do have substantial good declining activity news. This earthquake swarm is truly declining, as you can see in this chart, and while it is very difficult to guess how much longer it will last for, one linear method suggests this swarm could end or be mostly over by sometime between March 11th and March 25th. Additionally, assuming that magma dike intrusion model, the volcanic explanation, is correct, we have seen no evidence of further substantial or rapid magma movement since February 15th, marking the longest the swarm has gone without such a potential signal since the earthquake sequence initiated. The rate of magnitude 4 and larger quakes has also dropped to near zero, which is another good sign, as these represented the earthquakes which were theoretically large enough to on occasion cause some minor rockslides and landslides. Thus, it should come as no surprise that several thousand residents who initially left the island of Santorini have since returned, and this trend seems to be continuing. While under a state of emergency until at least March 3rd, along with 3 regional islands, there is a legitimate chance in my opinion that this isn't renewed beyond March 3rd road. If this were to be the case, schools may eventually reopen in the region after 4 weeks of being closed. However, what I just said is quite speculative, as we aren't 100% sure what will happen next. Yes, there is still technically a chance that further magma movement or an earthquake larger than a magnitude 5.5 could occur, but the odds of either, in my opinion alone, are continuing to decrease day over day. I do want to bring everyone's attention to what I believe is a very similar earthquake swarm that occurred, perhaps even marking a more intense sequence whose lesser magnitude events were likely missed due to the more primitive scientific instrumentation at the time. What I am referring 1929 Hawaiian seismic crisis to is a seismic crisis that happened in 1929 in the Hawaiian island chain at the Hualalai volcano, whose lava flows you will land on if you ever fly to the Kona International Airport. For reference, this specific Hawaiian shield volcano has not erupted since 1801. However, that fact did not prevent what is in hindsight interpreted to be a shallow magmatic intrusion from occurring during the latter half of 1929. Leading to a strong swarm of earthquakes which began on September 19th of that year. That swarm continued to increase in intensity day over day, resulting in hundreds of detectable earthquakes striking every 24 hours. Then, on September 25th, a magnitude 6.1 earthquake struck, causing some damage. The following day, the highest rate of daily earthquakes was recorded, involving 599 events. The rate of earthquakes then declined, but not before a second larger earthquake registering in as a magnitude 6.4 with peak MMIH shaking that caused additional damage struck. Then, per a direct quote from the US Geological Survey, by the middle of October, the frequency and intensity of earthquakes had diminished substantially, although a few events were still felt in Kona. The seismic crisis, which caused significant earthquake damage but resulted in no eruption, was essentially over by early November. In total 6,200 earthquakes were detected. The reason I mention this historical swarm for comparison is to prove the point, that being that even with the most intense earthquake swarms that have a definite volcanic origin, these only rarely result in a volcanic eruption occurring. There is a chance that the Greece swarm expectations ongoing Greece seismic swarm could last a similar duration, which in the case of the 1929 Hualalai swarm was 50 days. In other words, life will in my opinion have returned to normal by the summer, if not much earlier on these regional Greek islands without a volcanic eruption occurring. As a final note, I would like to thank my new YouTube channel member Pam D for